Hey y'all, I am Jordan. I am the owner and operator of Jordon's Flower Farm. We are a year 2 flower farm and we are located in the suburbs of Tulsa, Oklahoma. So a little bit about me, I am Jordan. I did name the flower farm after myself. I am a mom of 4 kids, so I've got 3 girls and a boy, and I am married to my wonderful husband, Derek. And I started growing flowers probably about 2.5 years ago now. So I started growing flowers just in my home garden. I met a dahlia tuber one night and I just fell in love and haven't ever been able to give up flowers since then. So I started growing flowers just in my home garden, became a little bit obsessive as I do with most things in life, and it of course spiraled out of control pretty quickly. I think I bought a dahlia tuber one night, and then my daughter and I went and bought like 50 more the next day. Only one of those made it because I didn't know what I was doing and they rotted, so that was unfortunate, but I have learned to grow flowers since then. So I spent the next year after that just building my home garden and absolutely falling in love with flowers and learning everything that I could about flowers. And then in October of 2022, we decided to go ahead and purchase land. So we purchased 8 acres in a town that is further out than the farm that we have now. So our first flower farm that we've spent building is located about 45 to 55 minutes from where we're located. And so we had 8 acres there and we started building our dream flower farm. After our first season flower farming, we decided to go in a little bit of a different direction and actually purchased an additional 10 acres in the suburbs of Tulsa. So now we're only about 15 minutes away from our home with our new farm. So we are working on building that farm, and I thought it'd be really fun to take y'all along on the journey with us as we build our farm. So a little bit about our farm. So our goals as a farm might be a little bit different than some other people's goals. So on our farm, our focus is working to be profitable by year 5. So I know some farms might want to be profitable early on in their business, and obviously I think we all strive to want to be profitable in our business as soon as we possibly can. However, on our farm, we're really focused during these early years of our business on building our farm infrastructure. So what does that mean? We're working on putting in our irrigation, getting our high tunnel, getting a barn, getting a greenhouse, getting in all of the big things that we really need on our farm while we're both still working at full-time jobs. So one of the things that I didn't say in my About Me section is that I am actually still working a full-time job while we are building our farm. So I have a 9-to-5 job that I work every single day. My job's actually probably a lot more than 9 to 5. I have a really strenuous job. My husband also has a job off the farm. So we're both very committed to our day jobs, but also are loving this farming journey. So that means our farm journey looks a little different. We obviously have income coming in from our day jobs that's allowing us to focus on building our farm faster. And building our farm may be different than others have. And I think that both ways are a great way to build your farm, but I thought it'd be fun to take y'all along and show y'all our journey as we build our farm this time around. So our new farm is located just about 10 or 15 minutes outside of the Tulsa area. It's in a pretty good sized suburb. There's about 20 to 21,000 people in the city that we're located in. So it's a good sized town. So we are super excited to be building our farm there. So we purchased 10 acres there. And the way I look at it is I see that our property, in my mind, is split into 3 sections. And so the first section I'll talk about is our cut flower farm. That is what I would consider our commercial flower farm. So that is about the last back 5 acres on our property. So on those 5 acres, we have space for 12 fields of flowers if we were to ever want to grow to that large of a scale. So our bed size are 120 by 90. So on our farm right now, we have put in one of our fields. So we have our spring annual field all prepped for spring, and then we have also planted our high tunnel field. So we are in the process of putting in a high tunnel right now. It's 120 feet by 30 feet, and it is looking amazing. I think all we have left on the high tunnel is to get the top on. So exciting. So kind of what our plans are for those 12 fields is we will have 2 fields of peonies. So we actually already have those peonies. They're planted on our other property. So we do intend over the next couple months to dig the peonies and move them to our new farm. So that's one of the big crops that we're focused on. And then we will have probably putting in this year a field of perennials, and then we know we're also putting in a field of woody plants this year. And we have 2 dahlia fields. So last year we just had 1 dahlia field. We found that to be highly successful for us. And so this next season we're going to be looking to put in 2 dahlia fields. We would like to use our own tubers for those fields, so we'll see when we divide them how many we end up having. So we also have room for annual fields, so like spring annuals, summer annuals. We have space to have another high tunnel in the future if we ever need that. Don't really have any plans for putting that in, but we have space for it if we were to need it. So that is our commercial farm area on the property. We also have our area where our home will be on the property, so we don't currently live on property, though I wish we did. We are in the process of looking to build, so we're working on finding a builder. We've already got our plans all drawn up, and just imagine like the farmhouse of your dreams. This is it, and I cannot wait to build this house. It has this gigantic wraparound porch that I'm just like totally stoked for, can't wait. I was looking at building a different house, and my grandfather, he's in his 80s, and he said, "Jordan, you have always wanted a wraparound porch. Why are you settling?" And so I was like, "You're right." So I scrapped our plans and we went back and redid our plans and added this giant wraparound porch, and it's going to be fantastic. So once we find a builder, we will start building the house on the property. But the property is beautiful. It has these beautiful, I'd say like over 100-foot pine trees. And so our house will be, tucked up by those, and I'm just really excited. I really, really like the new property. So then the third area that we have on our farm is what we're referring to as the garden. So the garden is where we have our Yoder Belt greenhouse, and it's also where we are going to have a raised bed garden area, and this is where we will have our cut flower garden experience as well. And so we're going to open up that space to our community, to our local community. So we will also have our flower shed that we fondly refer to as Buttercup, because she's the cutest little buttercup yellow shade. And so we'll get her all decked out and ready for spring, and then she'll be open once or twice a week, and we'll stock her with flowers so that we have a farm stand on the property. So in the garden area, this is where I really want it to be like a retail immersive flower experience, right? So when I think about when I originally started Jordon's Flower Farm and I was trying to come up with a name, I really just wanted to call it a field of flowers. That was already taken. Super bummed about that. And then since I couldn't have that, I just was like, we'll just call it Jordon's. But I really wanted to call it a field of flowers. And I remember my brother saying, like, why is that the name that you want for it? And I said, because I just want everyone to experience that feeling that I get when I'm surrounded by a field of flowers, or when I'm standing in my garden, and it just makes everything feel like it's like quiet in the world, and you finally have this like calm, serene space. That's why I wanted to start this business. When we first started the business, we ended up going the wholesale route and the farmer's market route, because on our original property that we bought, we didn't have as much freedom as we do on the property that we have now. And so now that we have this property where we really have the freedom to do all of the things that our heart desires on this property, I really want to go back to my roots of why I started this business. And part of that is offering that garden experience to the community. And so in my mind, I'm building a beautiful secret garden area behind our greenhouse. And I'm building a, raised bed, fenced in area that has all of our specialty bulbs and all of our dahlias that we're trialing. And then I have another beautiful area where we have picnic tables and hydrangeas, and it's surrounded by trees, and people can just come and connect with their loved ones and just spend that time with them. And then you also have like the U-Cut experience, where people can cut their own flowers and they can learn about it. And also with having the Yoder Belt greenhouse, it's absolutely beautiful. It will be the center and focal point in that space, but that greenhouse gives us the opportunity to have on-farm workshops. So we have so many plans for that space, but that space is what I'm really passionate about. It's the reason why I got into this. And if we had been able to do it on the property originally, it might have been the route that we would have like fully gone with from the very beginning. So when we went to pick our second property, I was very particular that we could do this here because I really want others to have the same passion for flowers that I do. All right, so let's talk a little bit about what we grow on our farm. So our farm is focused on bulbs, perennials, and woody crops. We do grow some annuals, but I would not say that that's like the majority of what we grow or where we're focusing our business. So for spring, that means we're growing things like ranunculus, tulips, daffodils. We're trialing anemones for the first time this year. We've never grown them, but we're excited to add them to the farm. So we've had them planted in the high tunnel. That means in the summer and fall, we're growing dahlias. Dahlias are a big crop for our farm. It can be extremely difficult to grow dahlias in Oklahoma, right? Like I'm not gonna sugarcoat it and say that it's easy. We trialed, like 60 plus varieties last year. We got 25 of each. We trialed 60 plus varieties to see what varieties could grow here, which varieties could thrive. And there are absolutely varieties that can thrive in Oklahoma if you're willing to give them what they need. And there's varieties that absolutely cannot handle our heat here at all, and they're not going to thrive, and we won't continue to grow them. I'm also working on figuring out how to have crops in the winter time. I don't want our business to just be seasonal. I want our business to be year-round. So, that looks like us taking things like the lily workshop and the tulip workshop and really spending time learning skills to where we're able to have a year-round business. So that was 2 classes that I took just in the last month. These were amazing courses. Highly recommend them if you haven't taken them and you're interested in winter growing. Those were amazing. So we're definitely looking into figuring out those crops in the future so that we can grow in the winter months. The other thing I love growing are perennials. So our main perennial crop is peonies. So we have 1,800 planted on our old farm. Like I said, we will dig those and move them to the new farm. We do have some more coming so that we can finish out our rows at our new farm are a tad longer than at our old farm. So we have some more peonies coming so that we can get our rows finished out at the new farm. But I absolutely love perennials. They just add so much to a bouquet in early spring when you might not have your summer annuals going yet. So I'm actually a little nervous for this spring because most of our perennials that we had were actually from my home garden that I had spent developing those 2 years before we had the farm. And we have sold that house since we're going to be building a new house. And so I don't have those perennials to rely on this year, and we haven't put our perennial field in at the new farm yet. We'll be putting that in this spring. And so I think it's gonna be really interesting this spring trying to figure out how to make arrangements without those perennials that I relied on so much last season. Woody crops, things like hydrangeas, viburnum, caryopteris, they can just add so much to your farm, like smokebush, 9-bark, all the things like that, to where you're not, and I think it's really important to think about how do you build a sustainable farm for your body, right? I'm not always going to be able to plant annuals year after year after year for my greenery, right? There comes a point when your back just can't handle it anymore. So I really would like to get these woody crops in early on in our farming years so that we have those to rely on year after year as we're getting older, right? I am not a spring chicken, so I really want to be able to have those crops to rely on in future years. All right, so let's talk about sales outlets. Where do we sell? So for year 1, I wanted to be absolutely sure, Dave Dowling, he's really just got it into my head that if I was going to be growing flowers, I needed to know where I would be selling those flowers. And so in year 1, I made sure to sign us up for a farmer's market so that we would have somewhere, no matter what, to be able to sell our flowers. Here was the surprising thing. I'm very introverted, right? Sitting here and talking to a camera in my living room, that's fine. But you put me in a large group and you're probably not going to hear a word out of me. I tend to be very introverted. So the farmer's market was kind of scary to me. I'm going to have to go and interact with people every single week. That's so overwhelming. But to my big shock, I absolutely loved the farmer's market. It was so fun to get to go talk to customers week after week after week who also just love flowers, right? And so we don't just sell flowers, we actually sell plants too at the farmer's market. So it was fun getting to talk to people about their gardens and being able to tell them show them my garden, and here's the things that I've grown, and here's what you should try to grow. And to really just like share that knowledge at the market was so fun. And then to be able to share our flowers with them was so amazing. And then one of the things that we did at the market, which I thought was like, just so fun, was I took Conley, my daughter, she's 4, I almost said 3, she just had a birthday. She's 4, and I took her to our farm, and we collected seeds from our cut flowers that had gone to seed at the end of the season. And so at the end of the market, like towards the end of the market, like September, October, we would bring our seeds with us, and we would set up a little area for kids to come by and make their own little seed packets. And so we'd be giving them things like marigolds and zinnia seeds and stuff from like our annual crops that had gone to seed, and we were just gonna cut down. And so we spent, an hour or 2 of our time collecting seeds so that we could give it away, because ultimately I just really want the world to love flowers, right? And so that starts with little kids. And so, they're not gonna forget that experience of putting a seed into the ground and seeing it grow into a flower. And so it was such a fun thing to do with kids. And I did it early on in the season too, because we had some seeds that Conley and I had collected from our home garden, and so we gave those away. And so I would get pictures from parents saying, look at the zinnia flower that we grew. And that was just one of the best experiences. So even though I didn't think that farmers market would be something that we would continue to do forever, I actually can't imagine not doing the farmers market now. I absolutely love it. I think it might not be one of our most profitable income streams, right? But I absolutely love it. It creates this amazing sense of community, and I don't think it's something I ever want to give up and not have in our business. So the other sales outlet that we had in our first year was selling to florists. Now, some people may tell you absolutely should not be selling to florists in your first year, but as someone that sold to florists in her first year, I'm here to tell you that you can do it. If you've done your research and you've spent the time learning about, pre-harvest practices, harvesting, proper stage of harvest, post-harvest practices, conditioning your flowers, if you have done your research, you can absolutely sell to florists your first year. I was super fortunate that we had a florist reach out to us on Mother's Day weekend needing flowers. She needed focal flowers. She had committed to doing an all local flowers Mother's Day weekend, and she needed flowers. And we had them. We had ranunculus, we had roses, and I was able to provide those to her. I don't know if I would have sold flowers to florists in our first year had she not reached out to us, right? Like there's this intimidation factor of selling to a florist, right? You're always hearing that they need perfect flowers. They have to be, no blemishes, nothing wrong with them. I learned that maybe that's not the case, right? Like we strive for perfection with the flowers, that's our goal, but they don't always have to be perfect. They're local flowers, and they appreciate that your flowers can sometimes be flawed, right? Like I had a florist say that to me, like, hey, if a bug's chewed on it, like I'm the florist that's not gonna care, that's fine. And this isn't like a small florist in the community, this is one of our big local flower shops that said that to me, right? Like she just loves local flowers and wants to support that. So I encourage you that if you're considering to selling to florists and it's something that like your heart desires and you want to do, and you've put the research in and you have good quality flowers, absolutely give it a try. In year 2, we are going to be adding a couple of additional sales outlets. So we are adding Buttercup, our flower shed. So we will have an on-farm flower shed where people can come weekly to get flowers from our farm. And then we also are adding obviously the on-farm workshops since we have our greenhouse now. And then we may also be looking at some retail locations where we can take our bouquets, do a consignment kind of model, and sell our bouquets there as well. So let's talk about what you can expect from this channel. So on this channel, I want to share our journey of building our farm with you. I also want to share with you my background in accounting and marketing and my decade of project management experience and how we can apply that to building your own farm. So on this channel, you'll expect things like vlog style content of seeing us go to farmers markets and packing florist orders and getting our farm stand ready. But you'll also see things like us sitting in front of the computer together, working on enterprise crop planning and ensuring that the crops that we're putting onto our farm will be profitable for our farm and are a good decision. You'll also see me doing things like sprint planning and project management and doing retrospectives to figure out, what we've done well, what we could do better, how we can be successful next time. So I hope y'all will come along with us as we build the flower farm of our dreams, and I hope we can share some of our knowledge with you as we learn, and that we can learn along the way together.